What's up, people? In this video, we are going to ask the question, or I guess make the statement, and then ask the question. The media wants you to think COVID is deadly, but is it really? Is it really as deadly as they think, or as they say it is? And I'm not going to give my opinion, or I'm going to try and not give my opinion, and I'm just going to go over the facts, because those are things people like to talk about, right? Facts. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. I'm not sure. Will YouTube maybe take this video down because of facts? Maybe. They took my other one down because of my opinion, but will they take this one down because of facts? I'm not sure. So number one, let's start with something really good. The media and big tech are working hard to silence opposing viewpoints that COVID is not deadly. There has been no indication. Pretty much zero indication that COVID is anything but the most deadly disease that humanity has ever faced and is worthy of an actual lockdown, right? Like, you go on Reddit, you go on the news, and there'll be like some independent person or university or a team of researchers will find out that vitamin D, or vitamin D deficiency is linked to COVID deaths, right? So then people will come out and they'll say, well, actually, maybe you just take some vitamin D and maybe that'll help. And then the media will come out with some article that'll be like, do you think vitamin D will help you cure COVID? Think again. Or like, here's why you might be completely wrong. Or like, here's why that's actually maybe possibly not true. And other things, they say that like sunlight kills the virus. And then it's like, do you think sunlight kills the virus? Here's why you're probably wrong. And this is the media and big tech. They not only do they focus on silencing opposing viewpoints, but they choose to pretty much exclusively focus on the number of quote unquote infections, which is really what that means is the number of tests that came back positive, which could be asymptomatic. People could you could take the test and maybe you're not sick, but the test says you are positive for whatever this fucking bullshit is, which, by the way, these tests test for any strain of the coronavirus, not just COVID-19. So there's a lot of, if we have two sides to the scale, you have a lot of pressure to make it seem like it's really bad, which, to be fair, if it really was that bad, we would all want to know, but you would assume that there would be a natural progression of discoveries made about how to actually cure it, and that we wouldn't all have to rely on a fucking vaccine from Pfizer or some other company to cure it, because anybody who knows anything about health knows that whatever ailment you have, there are lots of natural homeopathic cures that will get rid of whatever it is, without you having to rely on a vaccine or a medicine created in a lab somewhere. And people who don't know that, and this is one of my gripes with the modern medical industry, I guess, is that they don't seem to acknowledge that these homeopathic or non-traditional, non-Western medicine cures actually exist and do anything, when in fact they do. But if they're not covered in medical school, and there's not a litany of scientific studies that back that up, then they are technically they're not allowed to recommend those things, because if they don't work, and they can get in trouble basically and lose their license. So it's this whole political landscape. But anyway, the problem is that media, right? The media, obviously, at this point, who doesn't think that the mainstream media is biased and just not only are they're biased in favor of the establishment. In my last video, I kind of lost my temper, and I said I made a lot of personal attacks, but in this one, I'm going to try and change it up a little bit and just talk about the facts. So obviously the media is biased in favor of the establishment. It's not even really anti-Trump. It's pro-establishment is what it is. And the establishment has a certain narrative that they want to push, which we'll go over in some of these later little boxes, but they have a certain narrative that they want to push, and currently it is that the coronavirus is really deadly, and that's why we need to shut everything down. And there are multiple goals that are being achieved by this lockdown and the vaccine and all of this additional tracing that's going on. All right, so I think this is pretty standard, right? Big tech working to silence opposing viewpoints, censorship on social media, on Facebook, Reddit. There is not any direct censorship, but the establishment controls so many proxy Reddit accounts that they can upvote and downvote comments and posts that suit their narrative. Well, upvote the ones that suit their narrative and downvote the ones that do not. Twitter, obviously, we know is corrupted completely. Google results are dominated by newspapers and media outlets that are controlled by the establishment. YouTube also not YouTube is owned by Google, and has their own issues with censorship. Okay, so the next one, let's go over this one. Fake tests are being underreported and written off as conspiracy theories. So back when this whole thing kind of started, people were testing dogs, they were testing pineapples or bananas or fucking something, fruit, and these tests were coming back as positive, and that was, a blip on the radar of the media, where if the media was truly unbiased and not a pro-establishment fucking mouthpiece, then we would see some due attention being paid to this stuff. But we are not, and anything that says something other than the narrative pushed by the mainstream media, which backs the establishment, is written off as a conspiracy theory. You see this a lot with Q, right? The QAnon thing, which, for those of you who don't know who QAnon is, it's a user on 4chan who uses what's called a trip code, which is basically so 4chan is an anonymous website, but if you want to, they call it, if you want to trip, right? If you want to create a unique username that only you can use, they give you what's called a trip code, which is basically I don't know, it's like a username and password basically, so that people know that it's you every single time. So it's this user who, I'm not sure if he directly claims to work for the CIA or has some sort of insider knowledge about what's going on behind the scenes in the United States political arena. But he writes these cryptic messages on 4chan for people to decipher there. And there's a lot of interesting stuff, and a lot of his, I don't want to call it, let's call them prophecies, because can't think of the right word, but a lot of his prophecies or a lot of his cryptic messages have been interpreted, and the stuff that he said has actually kind of come true or been proven to be true, right? And the mainstream media, you can tell that they are, one thing about the media and the establishment is you can tell what they're nervous about, because they will make a very heavy push to claim the opposite of whatever it is, right? This whole thing about for example, COVID, right? Oh, COVID, COVID really isn't that deadly. One could make the argument. Of course, I'm not saying that. YouTube, please don't take me down my video, but one could make the argument that COVID isn't really that deadly. So what do we see? The reaction that we see from the media is that, oh my God, it's so deadly. Everybody who says it's not deadly is conspiracy theorists, right? Similarly, we can see somebody who's an impartial observer look at the whole QAnon thing and say, hey, this guy's actually saying some stuff that seems to check out. Maybe we should look into it a little bit more. And they say, no, QAnon's a conspiracy theorist. It's on a website for white supremacists, and we should never look at it, and anybody who looks at it is a Nazi. It's okay, well, don't you think we can maybe discuss it like adults? No, you can't do that. Otherwise, you love Hitler. So, all right, well, that anyway, it's a good barometer to determine what they actually think is how they react to things. And the stronger the reaction, their reaction to Trump was insane. Every single day were articles about Trump. And, unfortunately, Trump just kind of tried to coast on his popularity instead of running a good campaign like he did in 2016. I think he'll probably leave office, unfortunately, but whatever, what can you do? Okay. This is not my argument. I'm not saying it's a fake pandemic. I'm saying this could potentially be used as an argument, but the fake pandemic is being used as a ploy to blame Trump for something. So the whole idea is that you could say that the whole, number one, this coronavirus pandemic is not the most deadly pandemic we've had in recent years, not even close. 2009 swine flu killed double the amount of people that coronavirus has killed now. And they were not only 80 years old. They're not only senior citizens who were in poor health already. It was people under 65. 80%, or I think 80% of the people who died from the swine flu in 2009 were under 65 years old, which tells you something. Whereas in, the media is trying really hard to find every single possible death that maybe possibly could be attributed to coronavirus. And they're like lumping it in with, I think it's like 200,000, alleged deaths from COVID right now. And the whole argument here is that, like, oh my God, the coronavirus is really bad. It's ripping through America and killing so many people, and we're devastated, and we've had to lock down as a result. When you could say that the lockdowns are pretty arbitrary, done mainly in states that have Democratic governors, in order to further cripple those economies, in order to activate the voters there and get them to vote against Trump, basically. Because it's like you have COVID is really bad, and it's Trump's fault that it's really bad, and it's Trump's fault that we have to lock down and ruin your life. So therefore, that means that you have to vote Trump out of office so that we can enact our plan and change things and come in and save the day. Now, will they actually do that? I hope they will. I hope that's at least the silver lining of this whole thing, that, this revelation that we are really, unfortunately, under the thumb of the establishment, which, to be fair, is not that much different than other countries. It's just kind of surprising that it is true to the degree that it has been revealed to be true in the past year. So anyway, that's what it seems is going on here. Now, the next one is kind of interesting. The establishment is actually much wider, much covers, there are more organizations included in the establishment than previously thought, right? So basically what it seems is that any company, any influencer, any media personality that is not that is big enough and popular enough eventually gets absorbed into the establishment, right? So like major media outlets, any celebrity that has a significant reach that is not staunchly Republican or conservative or libertarian, or I guess, like, I don't want to say Republican or conservative, that does not hold truth as their highest value, which I do not think the establishment does. I think they hold power as their highest value. Anybody that does not hold the pursuit of truth as their highest value will eventually get absorbed into the establishment if they are willing to play ball. Or really, and willing to play ball is synonymous with like holding power as your highest value, which, to be fair, that's understandable, right? It's human nature to kind of pursue power. But what we see here, and in modern society, you could say that power is synonymous with reach. Like, if you have more reach, you have more power, which is, interestingly enough, why we saw in this election year, how many celebrities did we see that are coming out in favor of the establishment? Not even really in favor of Biden, but just in favor of the establishment. It's kind of interesting how they happen to align with all of these opinions about COVID and everything about Black Lives Matter and everything about every single establishment talking point that you could pretty much predict them to say, or anybody to say, if they are in favor of the establishment, if they're like under the spell of, whatever, fucking CNN, I guess, for lack of a better explanation. So the media, right? We already covered that one. Amazon, we'll get to that in a second, and the CIA are enforcing lockdowns in order to eliminate competition. Now, why do I say Amazon? Well, it was revealed recently. Let's see if I can find this article. CIA, Amazon deal $600 million. $600 million cloud computing contract that was awarded to Amazon's. CIA long relied exclusively on Amazon for its cloud computing. Now is seeking multiple providers for a massive new contract. So Amazon eventually won this contract for $600 million, right? The cloud effort, known as C2E Commercial Cloud Enterprise, builds on an earlier $600 million cloud computing contract that was awarded to Amazon's cloud computing division in 2013. So the thing with Amazon is that they own most of the internet, right? Amazon has, so the way that Amazon makes its money, the bulk of its income is not from fucking selling books or selling supplement or whatever people buy on fucking Amazon and their membership, Amazon Prime. I think they lose money on that. The way that they make most of their money is with their cloud computing software suite, where they essentially sell, I don't know, what is it, server space and fucking back end and I guess front end software capabilities, if that makes sense. basically like hosting and fucking, I don't even know how to fucking explain it. Like what do we call it? Like Amazon, what are the AWS, Amazon Web Services is the easiest way to put it. That's where they make most of their money. Now think about it like this. Let's say the CIA makes a deal with Amazon. CIA, very secretive organization, seems to be run very well, very efficiently, and they make a deal with Amazon, and they say, "Hey, we want to host our fucking what is the do you how much fucking space? Like, what do you think they're using $600 million worth of Amazon Web Services for? What do you think that is for? Who the fuck knows, really? It seems to be storing data, or probably what it really is like spying on people, and then storing that data and parsing that data in some fucking giant like warehouse full of servers, or several warehouses full of servers. Do you think that that would eventually lead to the CIA? Because what's the thing with the CIA is they can basically go to any organization or any individual and serve them a gag order and say, "Hi, we're the CIA, and we need access to your entire company. Here's a gag order. You're not allowed to tell anybody, and you have to show us everything that you have, and you just have to let us do whatever we want. And you can't tell anybody about it because it's in the interest of national security." So, like what? So anyway, the point is that the CIA will eventually infect major corporations, because these corporations, they're too big to do anything about it. They can't just be like, "Oh no, we're not going to," and then go public with that information. "Oh, the CIA is trying to fucking bully us into doing it." They can't do that. And when they're offering a fucking $600 million purchase to you, you're not going to want to. You're going to say, "Oh, yeah, okay, sure. You want to give us $500 million? No problem. Let's do it. Let's make a deal." So when you have the CIA like enforcing, well, I don't want to say they're enforcing lockdowns, but it's kind of like a three-pronged approach, right? You have, and I'm saying the CIA, I'm not sure, like the establishment and CIA is kind of the same thing, right? So the establishment comes up with a plan. They say, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to spread, like we want to get Trump out of office. We want to, and the way we want to do that is we want to create this perception of a pandemic. We want to blame Trump for it, and we want to use the reach that we have in media and big technological companies to create this public perception that COVID is really bad and that it's Trump's fault." So that's what they do, right? And not only that, they, as a result of their close relationship, let's say, with major, major companies like Amazon. I don't know if they have a relationship with Walmart. I don't know. Maybe. I'd be surprised. Or actually, I wouldn't be surprised, because Walmart is now releasing some sort of similar program to Amazon Prime. But that, remains to be seen if they'll also create like Walmart Web Services. I don't know, maybe. Anyway, they are eliminating small businesses as a result of this lockdown, right? Like, it's strange, isn't it strange how like Walmart is able to operate completely freely and grocery stores are able to operate, with 100% of their normal capacity. They just have to fucking spray some Windex on the countertop after every customer and wear gloves and put a mask on, and they're allowed to run their businesses as usual, but the fucking mom and pop grocery store down the street has to close because it's really scary and blah, 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 and COVID is bad. Like, you see this a lot in California. It's a complete joke. So anyway, it's kind of like you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. So at this point, if Amazon wins, the CIA wins, kind of, and vice versa. Next one, Amazon owns major media outlets, has billions of dollars deals with the CIA. We talked about that, and controls a major swath of the internet. So we talked about these last two. What are the major media outlets that the Amazon controls? So they own the Washington Post. What media outlets does the Washington Post own? Its current holdings include the digital marketing company Social Code, the online marketing Slate, Graham Media Group, formerly Post Newsweek stations, a group of 7 television stations, higher education company Kaplan, and the now closed Trove, formerly WAPO Labs, developers of a newsreader app. Interesting. So it's kind of interesting how the Washington Post owns all of these media outlets, and coincidentally, they just happen to align in, I guess, like ideological messaging with the other pro-establishment media outlets, which are it's pretty much like, I don't want to say it's every media outlet except for the Washington Post, but it's all of the major ones, right? It's like, credit to the CIA, really, for doing this so well, right under our noses, really. Like, credit to them. They got all the ones that mattered. They got YouTube, they got Facebook, they got Instagram, they got Twitter, they got Reddit, they got the New York Times, they got the Washington Post, they got, fucking BuzzFeed. They got all of the media outlets that everybody's heard of, and that we would never expect in a million years to be anything other than a fucking private business that's operating for profit. When in reality, yeah, sure, I'm sure it does operate for profit as a normal business. But when push comes to shove, if they need to be activated to push a certain narrative, then they will fucking abandon any idea of a running a profitable business and just put all of their resources and all of their energy towards reinforcing the message of the mainstream media and really the establishment as a whole. So credit to them to doing such a really good job. Really, I gotta say, like, you know, we all kind of like, I don't think anybody would say Hitler was a good person, right? Or the Nazis were good people, but there is still to this day, what is this, like almost 100 years after after Nazi Germany and the Third Reich, there is still this kind of like residual admiration for Nazis and for Hitler and for the efficiency with which they executed their operation, where, like, they got pretty close to winning World War II, kind of, I don't want to say single-handedly, but like they did a really good job doing what they did. They did a really good job killing all those people and putting people in concentration camps. They did a great job with that. I'm not saying ethically what they did was the right choice, but like, what do they say? Awful choice, but amazing execution, something like that. Anyway, next one. Facts about COVID are underreported. Yeah, facts about COVID are underreported, right? So this kind of goes back to the last one, where there's nearly a 100% survival rate, right? And most of the deaths are in people who are over 80 years old. And there's linked to vitamin D deficiency. And the virus can't survive in over a fucking 100-degree heat, right? And, I don't know, like the symptoms are marginal. And is it hydroxyquinolone? No. Hydroxychloroquine, prevents it or something like that. Oh, but no. Sorry, guys. None of that is true. The only thing that will save us is a vaccine from Pfizer. Really? Okay. Does that sound logical to you? It sounds kind of ridiculous. But like, think of it like this. Let me ask a question for anybody who's still watching this video fucking 25 minutes in. Let's pretend that we knew without a shadow of a doubt that a representative of the establishment said to us, okay, we can go back to normal. We can go back to fucking February 2020, or the way life was lived back then. All you guys got to do is just take the vaccine. That's all you got to do. Everybody in the United States has to take the vaccine, and then we can go back to normal forever. We'll never have to deal with another one of these fucking fake, potentially questionable pandemics again. All you got to do, fucking inject the vaccine that Pfizer gives us. That's all you got to do. Would you do it? Right? And you got to kind of think about that. You got to kind of ask yourself that question. Would you actually do it? Because here's kind of the concern, is that you see the efficiency with which the establishment has taken control of major tech companies and media, and really kind of celebrities, and just kind of the political scene. What are you going to do? What are you actually going to do about it? Really, you're going to start a revolution in the United States to change all that? really, what are you going to do? That's the direction things are heading in. You're going to try and compete with that. You're going to try and what, like overthrow the government? Get the fuck out of here. You're not going to fucking do that shit. If you try, you'll just get fucking, FedEx driver will come to your house and put two between your eyes. It's not going to happen. How you can't even coordinate that now, because how could you coordinate it? They fucking control social media. They control the media. I'm sure they're reading your text messages. You have to fucking go door to door and fucking talk to people face to face. It's just impractical to actually do that. Really, it is. So you have to kind of just think to yourself, all right, well, we're in a bad situation right now where we have no control and the other side has pretty much full control. And they want us to do this, and they have all the leverage. We have no leverage. What are we going to do? Are you going to take it or not? Like, if you take it, you can go back to normal. You take the blue pill, you go back to your normal life. You take the red pill, and you have to fight for the rest of your life. And chances are you're not Neo in the Matrix, and you don't have super awesome karate skills. You're just a fucking worm. Food for thought. Anyway, social distancing is pseudoscience, and masks are useless. So social distancing is pseudoscience. There's no proven fucking scientific studies how social distancing does anything. It's all just, they just arbitrarily made up this 6 feet thing where like, okay guys, gotta stay 6 feet apart, which nobody does anyway, really. Nobody stays 6 feet apart. It's like, it's ridiculous. And the masks are useless. I saw a meme. Let's fucking find this meme. Coronavirus mask meme, deadliest virus in the world. Let's see if I can find this. Yeah, this one. Oops, not that one. Shit. Yeah. So, I don't want my beautiful face to block this, but so these are the masks that you wear for deadly things, right? For smoke, you wear this fucking thing. Okay, for painting, you wear this. Paint fumes are very bad. For mining, you wear this. Pesticides, this. Radioactive, you wear this. The deadliest virus in history, you wear a fucking thin piece of cloth. Okay, funny, right? Asbestos, spray paint, mining, deadliest virus in history. Does this make sense, people? Does this make sense, really? Really? Deadliest virus in the past 100 years? Or is that really what we're going to say? That's what we're going to call this? And we're not wearing these fucking things? I promise you, if it was really that deadly, people would take greater precautions to wear a mask that actually prevented these little particles from getting into your, lungs. But they don't, because it's not really that bad, one could say. Next one. COVID is supposedly deadly and it's your civic duty to stay home, but Black Lives Matter rallies of 10 to 20,000 people are okay. So this is the major hypocrisy, and this is one of the undeniable contradictions that we see, or that we saw, that kind of solidified this idea that COVID maybe isn't really as bad as they're saying it is. So what I always think about, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the zombie movie. It's called 21 Days Later, which is an amazing movie, by the way. You guys should definitely watch it. So there's 21 Days Later, and then the sequel, which is 20, or is it 28 Days? 28 Days Later. 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later, which is the sequel. It's basically this movie about how people turn into zombies, and the disease is passed through blood, right? If the person's blood gets into your mouth or your eyes, then you turn into a zombie. And it's this like really freaky fucking disease where the zombies are like vomiting blood, and they get super violent, and they just start like going berserk and like trying to kill people. It's insane. It's not like the Walking Dead zombies where they're like, fucking retarded zombies. They're like actual like hardcore fucking crazy ass zombies. So I just think about it like that. I'm like, all right, if there was a disease that was that contagious and that deadly, motherfucker, I wouldn't leave my house. Are you kidding me? I would take a gun with me everywhere I went, and I would make sure motherfuckers did not get close to me or try and infect me with their shit, because it would be really that deadly. Not this like, guys, it's really deadly. You got to believe us. Look at this big number that we posted on the ticker. You can trust me. I'm a CNN anchor. Like, coronavirus death is 200,000. Just take our word for it. Really, seriously, guys. stay home, order on Amazon. And so if that was actually the case, would you go to a Black Lives Matter rally? Would you go to any rally? Really? Would you leave your house to go be around 10,000 other potentially sick people if you could get that disease and turn into a crazy zombie immediately? No, of course not. Same thing with The Walking Dead, right? Where like, let's say there was a similar disease where if somebody bites you, then you turn into a zombie. Which, okay, fine, biting is not like expelling particles that might contain a virus and somebody else inhaling those particles, which you could make the argument that's better or that's worse, or more dangerous or less dangerous, like the actual physical contact versus the particles, right? But if that was the case, would you go to a location with 10,000 other potentially sick people? All it takes is one person to be sick and everybody else is getting sick. That's all it takes, one person. You know what I mean? And chances are, out of 10,000 people, if this is really as bad as people say it is, like, what are the odds that there's not more than just one person there who is sick? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you were really that worried about it, wouldn't you do everything that you could to not be in that situation? You can say, oh, well, that's why we have the lockdowns and people aren't following the fucking instructions. Well, what about all these Black Lives Matter rallies? And, it's not, I'm not disputing their right to protest. Of course you have a right to protest. You want to protest against police brutality? Like, that's a great thing to protest against. The George Floyd murder was terrible. It was awful. Nobody's going to say he deserved it. Like, fine, he was drunk. He's got a record. Like, whatever, still, it doesn't matter. If it was in even if it was in self-defense, like, the dude is detained. He's on the ground. Like, come on, put the cuffs on. Fucking put your foot on the middle of his back, and like, that's it. You don't need to do what you did, really. But still, like, if there's really a really deadly disease, like really deadly, you should not go protest at that time. It is more important to stay home and not endanger the lives of millions of people. That is a better choice than going out and protesting and potentially infecting everybody in the United States because you're upset that some guy got killed. Really, that's like, is that callous? Am I a monster for saying that? No, you should always be able to go out and protest, even if there's a super deadly disease going around and it could potentially kill everyone. Like, come on, don't be an idiot. Anyway, just wanted to make this video and lay out what I think is going on. Just want to reiterate, I love the CIA. I love Amazon. I love being alive. So keep that in mind, guys. Do you have any comments about this? Let me know. Leave me a comment. Should I make more videos about this? I kind of don't want to make videos about this because I feel like it's a dangerous topic. Not that too many people watch these anyway, but still, yeah, kind of dangerous topic. But anyway, let me know what you think about that. I have a fitness course coming out in the next month. Nutrition, fasting, fitness, workout routines, workout examples, like workout routines, workout demonstrations, a cookbook, action plans, the whole shebang. It's going on sale soon. Go to theminfit.com, TheMinfit.com. Let me know what you think about that. Leave me a comment. Peace.